Hey everyone. So I'd like to welcome you today. I decided I could A, record a video and just have a discussion, but then I noticed that it's the last 44 minutes currently right now of my Kickstarter campaign for Astro Herbal. Now this is the Oracle deck that is hand illustrated with 126 medicinal plants in it. And this would be the second Kickstarter I launched in the last 4 months. The first one I held in December was under a different name and had a book with it. But we weren't able to crowdfund the financial goal at the time because I think it was just way too much for what I was offering. Now, I've retooled it since and launched a second campaign. Now, we're on day essentially 18, and I'm still unable to achieve the goal to have a physical release of Astro Herbal. So, over the weekend, I was like, how about I create my own solution? I decided to go far into it to look into how exactly can we allow some sort of limited print run of Astro Herbal, because it would be nice to have a physical release of it and just to provide that and have people have the option to welcome that in. I'm all appreciative of. I'm just happy I'm capable to print the deck, and if it has a physical release, I'm happy because that allows me to share it and then feel a sense of completion as I move on to other projects. Because I also have a number of ideas I'd like to do that's in different mediums as well. So we'll see. So currently, there's, I believe, I can actually just look and tell you myself. So currently there's 40 minutes left of the Kickstarter with 53 backers, and we've managed to raise $5,889. Now, normally, if I was able to just like still end the campaign and collect this, you would all have a printed deck. But unfortunately, when you operate on crowdfund platforms like Kickstarter, they do take a percentage, and then there's also percentages for card fees. And then if you're dealing with Kickstarter, because of the way that they set things up, unless you manually like ship things out, you probably need like a pledge manager, and those pledge managers are used more towards collecting shipping, getting addresses correct. So that's another fee. And then on top of that too, you're looking at taxes as well. So there's about 20 to 25% of any Kickstarter goal, whether you're pledging a part of it. Like every pledge you have, 25% of that is most likely going towards not what you're pledging. And that is the ecosystem. So in my last 39 minutes remaining, I'm still 3,000 short. Now here's the thing, I can't see that happening, and it's fine. So I'm gonna roll with those dices and understand that this particular release is the artisan edition, because I wanted to share the toned illustrations purely as they are, so that you get the essence of the drawing, the line work, the white charcoal, because I spent a lot of time, you can see in the time-lapse videos, that I wanted to create something that was unique, but at the same time too, it's like too unique. So I mean, you got to have either interest in the medicinal herbs or want to work with nature, or utilize the Oracle deck because you're interested in its messages, or even if the astrology interests you, the way I was able to assign various resonances to different parts of the plants. What you doing, buddy? Watch out. So overall, the unique deck itself is just one of a kind, so I'm hoping to share that because I have a lot of other ideas that I would explore. Now, because we were able to achieve the Kickstarter over this weekend particularly, I decided that I shall open up pre-orders. So right now, I am collecting pre-orders for a very like limited, like whoever pre-orders, that's the only decks that are going to be printed. So in my experience, I mean, I won't be able to have enough decks to like offer after, but I mean, it all comes down to who's willing to pre-order right now, because the more people who are able to pre-order, the more I'm able to at least provide the best deck possible. And obviously it gets easier if I can do more, but unfortunately I'm having to charge more than I did at the Kickstarter, because printing a deck in bulk when you do in wholesale, obviously it gets cheaper the more you make, but then you're dealing with an individual one, like scaling things down, prices go up, but then you scale down to like one print at a time, you're looking at the individual costs that are exceeding even the pledge that I have available in the current Kickstarter. But I'm offering many of those Kickstarter pledges the ability to actually secure their $123 pledge for the whole, where is it? or you be set of Astro Herbal. So let me see what we got going on here, because I would like to dive into the fact that I'd like to show the deck off. I'd like to explain why I'm also taking pre-orders instead, which is what we're in the currently of. And I also, if you're tuning in right now, this morning I had the opportunity to have a pleasant chat with Matt Presti, and we dove into a number of things. It might have been like bouncing off the walls a little bit in terms of like direction, because it was impromptu, but I think a lot of the messages that did come through were pretty, you know, they're meant to. So if you're interested in more of a talk, whether it's the idea of consciousness or art or who knows, I mean, if it's your cup of tea, you're welcome to go check it out. I included the link below, so you're welcome to tune into there. And you can also check out his blog, which I've linked below as well. So that was this morning, and that was a wonderful chat. So it just made me feel more comfortable that if I'm going to take extra time today, I'd like to just do it live, impromptu, and provide myself as is, so you get an experience while I enjoy a little moment to sit down and reflect and share what's going on in these final 36 minutes. So in doing so, I'm very interested in being able to share with you why I'm doing Astro Herbal as a deck, because in 2020 I was very interested in making educational decks in general, and I wanted to refocus back on nature and bring about not only various ways in which we can connect to nature, but in ways we can understand resonances as well as our bodies and a number of other things, whether you're looking at the physical matter, the conscious matter, or even the matter of emotional states. But however you want to perceive it or dive into it, what I want to do is create a tool that was ahead of the time. And I think we're not here to change the world by acting on it in a large scale. We're trying to act locally, think globally. So in my eyes, I created Astro Herbal here as a 3-set collection, looking like it's a book. You can see the book covers, you can see that they all line up, and we have volume 1 here, which is, oh wait, no, I'm looking at it backwards. So we have volume 1 here, and this is pretty much 42 cards, yes, 42 cards consisting of forageable plants that you can find in the wild. Now, I made it so it looks like a book. It's not 100% perfect design yet, because this actually recently was able to arrive in my studio, so I wasn't able to actually like capture much footage of this prior to today. Otherwise I would have. I ordered these back in January before I even launched one, but second Kickstarter, but they just didn't come. So it just is what it is. I'm comfortable with it, but like, yeah. So this is volume 1. We're gonna go through some of the decks here, and this deck allows you to tap into a lot of like forageable nature, and many of these plants can be found in the wild, maybe even in your backyard. But the idea is that a lot of these were more like wild, while volume 2 here, volume 2 was more attuned to stuff that like you're likely use in the kitchen. I mean, I got foods like carrots and coconuts and avocados, but you're gonna find various stuff that you can use for teas. This is more definitely seen for used for culinary purposes. This is very much it's complementary, because these were wild and then these were you can use in the kitchen, but at the same time too, if you're ever going to utilize any of these herbs in any way, they don't just have to be culinary. It's just how you're theming the set. And then last but not least, we have volume 3. Volume 3 is actually slightly different. It includes actually additional cards, but it is flower essences, which is based off the original 38 flower essences from Dr. Edward Bach, and you can look into that, but his essential infusions were allowing that they address the emotional states of being. Now, I include some extra flowers in here that are also beneficial and medicinal that were at one time including in a whole giant deck, but I made the decision to split it to 3, because when you can theme them and ideally allow yourself to work with a smaller deck, you're not stacked. And that was the difficulty I had when I worked with a larger deck, was it's not as easy to shuffle. And then I felt that if I wasn't able to shuffle, providing that as a Oracle deck may not be the best, because there's too many cards sometimes. But when you have just the right amount, it's enough to just like bring to your hand and provide you a message as you please, as you need. So these are wonderful for getting messages of nature, by nature, for nature, because whether you're doing it for, let's say, divination readings, which, I mean, since the last decade of online interactions, we've been able to create divinations based on divinations. You can find someone who divinates based off the state on how they divinate to your resonances, even by their own resonances they came into the world as. So many people are different, but you not only have to have an interest in the oracle decks, but you'd have to also understand and have an appreciation both whether it's the fine arts of me illustrating each and every one from scratch, or it's the medicinal plants that draw you in, or the hint of astrology that relates itself to the resonances of its personality. I'd like to make sure that what I'm providing is a deck that can be served by itself and serve as a little box set so that there can be more volumes if I was able to pursue that. And I actually have a couple ideas in mind, so we'll see how that plays out. But based off the fact that I was only able to launch 2 Kickstarters so far, and we've yet to be able to have a physical release, I'm going to have this limited print run currently so that we can at least be able to share the deck enough that everyone who wants one still is able to welcome one along their journey wherever they are in the world. So I'd like to thank actually everyone so far who's participated in the crowdfund campaign. I just only hope that they were active and read what was going on, because a lot of them are very Kickstarter super backers, so I'm not able to actually represent anything more than I can tell the difference between whether or not they're used to backing projects but not tuning in, or if they're just overwhelmed. But I wanted to announce and offer a lot of opportunities for people to get a good discount, lock in their pledges if they wanted to pre-order, even though the price went up, because I wanted to make sure that everyone had the opportunity that if I can offer it, I can offer it. And in doing so, I yet to even fill up the 10 spaces that I offered that price at, because it's the early bird special. And it's kind of curious to see how you see platforms that are supposed to help and create art, but at the same time too, the individuals you connect to aren't always going to be aware of what is completely going on or the full extent of what is, because we can get carried away easily. I mean, look at the amount of AI art that just comes out on decks now. We're seeing that a lot on Kickstarter, where the state of making things look good might become so well accepted as an easy way out that we might need to go back to the raw, real states of reality of showing traditional art, or talking about things that are real and grounded. We can't get lost in escapism anymore, and I think people are waking up more and more, and it's going to be reflected, because at some point we're not going to easily be able to entertain as much as we can, especially as more and more comes out without even our knowing. It's going to happen so fast that it's going to be beyond our comprehension just to even digest what has come out in a single day, let alone what it means for how things change, because wherever you're tuning into, you could have a different story for what's happening. But let's see here. We're still coming down to the last half hour of the Kickstarter, and I know we're here and we got 1 view, so I appreciate you tuning in. And we're gonna say that, so we got about a half hour, so I'd like to use that time to both look through the deck, and obviously it's not like I have too many people to tune in, otherwise there'd be a bigger, what's it called? There'd be more external support going towards Astro Herbal, but I haven't been as vocal. I actually haven't been as active. I've been trying for years to try and get a podcast going. I've tried to have, I've asked friends, because for me, I can sit here and talk to you, but it just feels like I'm sitting here expressing. But when I'm in a discussion, I think these things are more important for reality, because when we're in an actual interaction of universe and potential, what we're actually witnessing is the ability for light to reflect off one another. So we want to actually see what we can create, because sometimes it creates a more let's say the sun rises, but it rises into your window, but once that sun reflects off the wall, the amount of light that is actually spreading in the room that you're occupying is able to allow you to perceive a little more. So I think that in those interactions, you're being gifted the ability to see more than it's just by yourself. Because I mean, you can navigate your own home with your eyes closed if you wanted to, but when you have light to see, it makes things a lot easier, especially because of the very nature of our existence. But anyway, we're going to dive into looking at the cards, And I'm going to take the time to also say that if you are interested in following any of my channels, obviously this is the YouTube channel, and then these get uploaded on alternative networks as well automatically, but I can't keep up to things because I've spent the last month like working every single day, probably releasing a video every single day of the 18-day Kickstarter. I wanted to make sure that at least I did everything on my end. I communicate with people, even though not many have really got a chance to read or check it out, but I did try, and I'm all for trying and seeing who's willing to interact with the universe. I'm willing to bring it to being, only because my nature is so called to honor, in a way, what is, that it's hard to digest. Because, like, let's say, hey, let's go to a trip to the other side of the world. That's not really the best expectation, but I mean, I think anybody who travels the world or finds cultures and sees that there's so much more to be, that we are enriched in a way that actually encompasses all of our nature into a more refined appreciation for both what we have locally as well as the different, I guess, flavors that you can experience in this world that we're a part of. So I think it's important that we are part of that. But I can't go too philosophical in the nature, because like I did want to express, I wanted to get more podcasts so I can discuss myself and be more public. But I mean, life happens and you can only do so much. And I honestly know that there's always a difference between the people you have around you and how well they understand you and are willing to support you, and how much that actually comes around. Because when you want to actually create something, you have no idea that sometimes you can put all the work you want into it, but I mean, it does have to have some sort of like journey of its own at its own life, you know? And then I know many artists, they fall into a category where many of their paintings would be discovered after they passed, and it's just a huge collection. But in these cases, we're just discovering works of art that exist that give us an idea. Some of them are just in trends. We can see the development of how art got refined over the years until we met up with the conditions of the 1900s, that we're actually exploring so many forms. But it's just more about how can we progress and bring it further, because I think that's at the end of the day how art and creation can actually evolve. So we're in a world today where I think because of the nature of how we're developing our technology, that we're able to reach a standpoint that the art that we produce might be different to everybody, and we are able to deliver a digital experience in any way possible through the means of the technological jumps that we're going to experience over the next decade, let alone what's going to quicken each and every step of the way, because it's a fractal essence. But at the same time too, once you start multiplying it, it can rise real quick, and who knows how far you can get. But it just comes down to not what it can do, it comes down to what people choose to do. And I think I have faith in people, because we are always creative in one way or another, and I know that there's going to be individuals who can find the tools to make something great. But at the same time too, I think that sometimes it depends on your passions, and we can get caught up in too many ideas and themes, and maybe we're drawn to it for something deeper that we aren't able to fully discuss in some manner. But I think at the very least we're able to recognize where we are as a individual connecting to what we're attracted to. And for me personally, as an artist, I'm always been drawn to nature. I've grew up photographing nature. I studied it. I explored it. I grew up essentially just exploring the woods in my free time due to the nature where I lived. And it was wonderful because it taught me so much. And at the same time too, the more that you're able to experience of the world, the more you can gain appreciation for the things that are just as is what it is. Because when we look at the natural harmonious balance of how you can create a whole ecosystem of interactions while still providing a unique experience where you can see the tree in all its forms but don't judge it by its shape. We're in nature because we're of nature. And when we want to explore nature as a message, many of us can dive into the synchronicity, many of us can dive into the way in which we are able to read or confront nature. But I think the best way that I could serve to create a tool was that if I was to create Astro Herbal here, that Astro Herbal tool would utilize the means of an oracle, which is a divinative synchronistic state of providing a number of generated messages that, just like is it Schrodinger's cat, essentially you aren't sure what the cards are going to be. And that faith of universe is pretty much the eyes of darkness, so that you can take a leap of faith and see that what is going to be provided for you in a synchronistic state. Obviously, doing it blind is always going to be the best, and in most cases too, you want to fine tune, because you can't just ask whatever you want and expect it to help you. For example, like if someone's like using it to have actually I'll probably just like save from having to dive into there, because it's just what the tool is rather than who uses the tool for what. Because I think a tool like a divination tool is a synchronicity tool. Like for example, if you look at AI, it's actually not that different from a synchronicity tool. It's just a higher set of variables mixed in with complications that at the same time will be it's not programmed, but it's certainly the way that it's delivered. It's random number generated, so it's the same way that you can pull a card, but at the same time you're not sure what you're going to get. Visually we might become more inspired, but then when you come across the ability to connect with nature, I think you're looking at something that's going to stand the test of time, because even when I'm gone, nature's going to still be here. Even if this house I'm in right now just one day is like no longer able to sustain itself over like who knows how many centuries, nature will still be here, and it will continue to grow, and all the nature that you find inside this deck will still be, and it will be beyond us, and we may not even know the full extent of what these plants can offer us. But at the same time too, what we are able to understand thus far opens up a whole new category of where it is that we're actually utilizing these gifts of nature to provide ourselves not only like proper healing and direction, but give ourselves the building blocks to address any issues. And at the same time too, if you get more authentic in the terms of your experience, what you essentially consume, you yourself are going to improve what your output is. We need to all take a part in recognizing ourselves, because it's all we can do. I think most actions come from when we ourselves aren't able to honor our nature. I think our nature is so important to guide us, and I think it happens in a number of ways. And this could be a deck regarding crystals if it wanted to, and still utilize the nature of the resonances identified by the spectrum of availability of what we see coming from nature as a use of messages. I've seen all sorts of decks and wonders happen, and it's interesting, because when you create an oracle deck, the idea is that you want to create that random number generated effect. You want to make sure that it's not only random, it's beyond the control. You're not here to count the card to see which one's going to come out. You're more wanting to be in the dark, so that when you approach it, it's something that is just isolated by itself. I mean, you take that with any philosophy, and you want to make sure that you're applying yourself alignment to source as best as possible. And sometimes that source is like deep within you, and then many of us still have to sort our way through just to make it through, because once you get on top of the mountain, you get a good sense of like the surrounding areas, but that doesn't mean that that journey's over, nor does it mean that that's the only mountain you're going to climb. So we all have a perspective, and even then we're got some ways to go, and everyone has their own world view, I would say. So if you're navigating however you want and you're looking for messages, that's always important, and I think these oracle decks are going to be like a great way to deliver that. And in doing so, we're wondering about what exactly these cards are even going to provide into being. So I'd like to take the final moments here, so let's see where we're sitting at. We're at 18 minutes, so that's actually a wonderful time that I can deliver maybe another message for those who are able to tune in either live in the moment or for the split second that happened, or if you're tuning in after, if you're one of those lucky little people, then I'm going to provide you a message on the spot right now using the deck. So let's take a look here. So here we have ourselves this here. We're going to open up the deck, and we have these cards that I'd love to present to you, because I have yet to been able to show you how the back of the cards contrasts the toned art. Now I wanted to go for like these muted, primary, not primary in the sense, but like respectable colors, where you're looking at a vintage old book, and you're seeing how like it has a sophistication to recognize itself as something that's respectable. It wants to be seen almost as a higher learning tool, because we don't need to engage in the concept of what really is higher learning if all that we are taking in is actually higher learning. But we want to have the opportunity, at the very least, to understand that when we work with nature, it's going to come full circle one way or another. So with that, it's time to allow ginkgo leaf to express that the golden love you have, because ginkgo biloba is actually very good for a number of means. I've come across it, I believe it was one of the plants used by a foundation from France that was able to utilize it in a combination that will help your system under certain circumstances, which I'm unable to discuss on a live feed based off the platforms I'm on. But because it's there, it's a leaf that is commonly from Japan, and it's harvested at the time of the season when it actually turns yellow and gold. And because of this, it actually has a more attuned nature to have a unique property. Now you can have the green ones as well, but the golden ones are the ones that are allowing the most effect, because I believe there's a particular there's something going on that triggers it so that's more available once it is yellow. So it seems like this golden essence, in which we want to recognize, is always going to have some chance to tell us that when we are golden, then we are able to be of value and shine. And it's crazy because I just split the deck again and the same card just came out. So what we're looking at is the golden love. So maybe that golden love is something that's meaningful. And if we take a look at the astrology of these things, just to dive further into the message, we're looking at a 𝒬ᴇᴏ process. Now the 𝒬ᴇᴏ process is a way in which we're actually processing thinking and perceiving and allowing ourselves to pretty much take one thing and move it to other. So we want to be able to perceive the reality and bring it internal. That's processing. So we're looking at that with Libra, which is a balance. And when you're looking at Libra as a balance, that's once you get to the other side of the identity of the self. Then you're looking at the other, and then you're perceiving you're yourself with the other. Most people associate that with a partner, a business partner, or a close friend, or a very close connection or opportunity at the same time too. You can also extend this out to be with your relationship with universe, with the world external to you, would be another method too if you're unable to find that unique section. But even though that dedication to see the outer world shows us that even though it's a part of it in the 𝒬ᴇᴏ processing, that we want to take in that world, because if we do, we're able to find that golden love. It's just we're finding the balance in it so that you yourself are able to utilize it. And because we have over here, it's a fire sign, that the way that we're generating this is such a way that it's like vibrant and bright, and then it has a lot of energy to it, and it's able to not only rejuvenate us but take us to where we need to go. So when you're looking to get a balance, you want to be able to make sure that you're processing it enough that you can meet it both ways, because you can't meet everything 100%. And I think that at the same time too, if you're going to go 99%, that idea is that showing that how much effort you're putting into it is not always going to equivalent what you're going to receive in return, because your effort is just your own and you're unable to control the circumstances external to you. So it's important that we find ourselves in a moment where we have to be better for our own self so that we're better for the world external. So I'll let that come into playing as a message. And now I want to open up and take a look at Volume 2, which is themed around the culinary. And if you see on the cover, this is Chaga. Now I'm probably butchering it because you can probably say it in a number of ways, like Chaga or Chaga or Ja with a Z. But it all comes down to the same thing, because like it's not about how you're pronouncing it, it's about understanding that you know what it is, because at the end of the day, it is a name and you want to be respectful, but it's not like you're misinterpreting the concept of what you're trying to convey. It's the idea in the hands that you're using words as a translation to understand that even if you're not able to fully pronounce something in the full 100% way, that you yourself are always going to be able to understand its essence. And if you didn't need a language in the first place, then that would have gave you the opportunity to connect it with it without any preconceived judgments of what these words are or how these words come into playing. But anyway, let's open up this deck and discover what we got going on here. So obviously it's red themed, and we're going to pull the cards out, and as you can see, cards also match. And it's not like the best camera, and I'm pretty sure it's 720p, but here, I can probably do this. I wonder if it focuses. Oh wow, it does. Cool. So it focuses, and you can see slightly the blueness is making it maroonish, but here, You can see somewhat of the red if I put it right in the light. Actually, I have a shirt on that's red, so like you can see how close it blends, but it's maroonish. But let's take a random card from here and see what happens. So I'm going to pull this one here, and the message for you is papaya. Now, papaya is, I was actually interested in papaya because it utilizes a couple of different benefits, including the fact that it can raise your white blood cell count. And white blood cell count is important because that's actually how your immune system is able to address certain things inside your body. It's the ability to have the wholeness of a field of a blood. So papaya itself is telling you that you got to have tribal strength, meaning that sometimes the people that you connect to, they exist in the world, but are they of the world? But at the same time too, when you find your tribe is more meaningful. Your tribe is your community. Your tribe is the people that you connect to, that you turn to when you want to ask for advice or seeking external input, that you want to know that you can depend on these individuals. Your tribe are going to be there when you come into the world, but at the same time too, what you contribute to your tribe in the presence with them is what you are gifting back for the essence in which they brought you into. It's honoring the community. It's when you have a co-op, you want to take care of enough where we all do our part, and in doing so we enrich the community all together. Now we're looking at papaya itself, which is a fruit, and we're looking at tribal strength through a Venus on Cancerian as well as a water sign. So when we look at the Venusian aspect of it all, it's the feminine. It's the way we attach to creativity as a concept of becoming inspired so that we want to birth something into the world. We can take action with the Mars, but it's about Venus that we are able to conceive this idea that creates. And because we're acting on it, it's how we connect. It's how we are connecting with the world and the materials that we do to create. So when you're dealing with the Cancerian with the Venus, you're very personal. It's close to home. You want to nurture and care. In this Cancerian aspect, I see this as papaya's way of being able to nurture the blood cell, the white blood cell in particular, in the way it is formed through the bone's ability to provide the B cells. It's needed to be a part of the way in which we're supporting the body, nurturing the body, giving the body the ability to have space so that it can grow into its best being. And that's all about nurturing. We want to give a safe environment for that nurture to take place, and if we can provide it the necessary guidance, we are lifting up the opportunity rather than fighting against it. And because we got water, it's very emotional, because we're looking at the waterways, it's the feels, it's the way in which we're honoring, the way in which we're looking at whether or not we're influenced by the external world emotionally, or our own waters are settled as the world goes on. And when you're looking at the emotions, some people get so lost in the emotions, some people aren't able to comprehend the emotions. Emotions aren't meant to be analytically, I guess more curly analyzed, but at the same time, when you do that, you can understand parts of yourself. But not everyone's gifted with those opportunities, but we got to work with our own nature the best we can. So papaya is bringing us to have this connection, this Venusian connection, to connect with those that we want to co-create with in a way that is going to nurture not only ourselves but the tribe. And to do so in a watery way keeps us very much in tune and in depth to the being of the rhythm, the motion. I mean, at the same time too, you want something from an ocean state to give you the ability of life. That's where most life has come from. It has the ability to do so. So when you are in that state, you're more connected, because if you think about it, every single drop's connected of water in the ocean. So its network itself is knowing that it's part of a greater whole. So when we want to see that we find our tribal support, we want to make sure that we're part of that greater whole, so we don't feel so isolated. And even then, your state of mind, your being, the way that you can enrich yourself emotionally just by that support changes so much in your life that it makes that tribe essential to why yourself is able to continue and be given the strength through any and all trials. Now, as we go on to the last guidance, we're going to open up the last deck, volume 3, which is actually particularly specially titled Flower Essences, and as I expressed earlier, is obviously actually is based off Edward Bach's research, but I modified it a bit because I noticed that he actually took an approach of what remedy do you apply for what you're experiencing. So instead, I took the reverse end of saying, how about let's ask, what is the gift of the plant and why is it able to help us? This is like interpreting light both ways, like in Goethe, when you can understand that the light forms itself are based off the direction of that light. And even if you look at astrology, it's just which way that light is going. It is a highway. One way leads one way leads the other way. But the thing is, it's the same path. It's just how you're looking at it. So let's take a look to see what card's going to come out for us today. And I should show off, yes, the cards. So this is the backs. Yes, it's green. I love it. It's awesome. It matches it. It comes with this nice, I don't know. It just fits that nature. So we are going to split this even more, and I want to provide us today crabapple. Now crabapple is actually one of the better ones because it's asking you just to be you. It's really simple. I've actually worked with this because crabapple is great for working with a number of things. We're again returning to the Venusian energy, which is about tapping into not only the aspect of self in the ability to create, but how we connect with others, or how we produce a value system to show what we care about. Because when we care about it, we hold space for it internally, and that's because we ourselves have the ability to be a part of holding about 75% of our water, an emotional memory. And when we hold that emotional memory long enough or visualize it or strengthen it, we're giving ourselves a piece of which can also be felt, because we are all water. And if we're able to create the 100-monkey system, then you're still passing on your own nature in your own way, whether you're aware of it or not. So crabapple is asking you to be you. So if this message is for you, yeah, definitely be you. And in the sense, that's all I can do. I can just be myself. So even if I'm unable to raise enough funds through 2 crowd funds and a Kickstarter, both of them Kickstarters, I should say, I'm still myself. I'm still happy I created it. I created it regardless whether I did the Kickstarter last or not. It's just I did it, and then I provided it, and if somebody welcomed it, I'm happy. I'm just grateful if it's able to get a print, even if I'm able to just send 5 out. But luckily, it looks like I might be sending a little more out, which is good. I like that. I would love to be able to at least send 15, because it makes my job easier when I'm able to have them all arrive at once and then I can send them out. Because we want to make sure that we optimize shipping and we optimize expenses. It's already enough as it is to ask so much. So we want to make sure that we deliver the best we can. So crabapple is actually Aquarius here, because we want to understand that the network of how we are being you is so unique that Leo itself is wanting you to shine your light, because Leo is the essence, those parameters of the energy of us radiating. It is light radiating. So when we're looking at that, we want to see the Aquarian as the opposite of that. It's where you look at the collective. Now, you get so lost in the collective, but it finds out that when you look at the nature of Aquarius, because of the way that they perceive the Leo, they are actually more unique out of all the other signs in terms of their randomness, their weirdness. And that's actually a good thing in a number of ways, because like a lot of Aquarians like to be able to connect on a larger scale, but at the same time too, they're unable to fully comprehend how fully connected they are, because it's so vast. It is the network created by management of systems. We are able to connect, like right now on the internet, we are able to connect so much in a state of mind that is beyond what we could have done like decades ago, let alone the ability of what we're able to generate as a human species, with the potential to offer who we are energetically, whether we make the choice to express ourselves, create something, or just be. Either way, even the nature of just running into people and having a smile can, who knows, change the day for many. So for us, we're looking at another sign here, which is air sign. So when we're communicating with Aquarius, we want to actually take that Venusian twist by saying, hey, collective, I understand who you are. I'm having a relationship with you, but I know who I am as an individual. So we want to make sure that when we're looking at air, we are expressing to the collective that I understand that you are all here together, but I'm also myself, and I want to identify and be that person and be myself. And by doing so, I'm honoring and respecting the nature I came to be. So when crabapple really asks you to be you, you want to make sure that you're honoring yourself in a way where you don't forget who you are. Sometimes if you actually find out how unique you are, you actually have a greater appreciation to love yourself more, because you're like, wow, this is the body I am, and this fits me perfectly because it's what I need, it's what I am, and it completes me. And many of us want something else to provide that answer, but in reality, your greatest service that you can do for anything else in this world is to discover who you are. So with that, I say honestly, be you. This is the card for you today. And like I said, these cards, these messages, they might be collectively, they might be individually. You might have to understand that this might just be for my own reflection. I can't fully say that the message itself was directed towards any particular essence, but I at least was able to provide that today, and you got a chance to see the back of the cards as well as some of the box art, because the box art I've been working on, but I wanted to be able to show it off in person because I am so for that, but I had to be able to work with what I can, because I'm still going to perfect a couple things here in terms of offering this 3-deck set. So right now, if you're interested in owning this deck for yourself, I have pre-orders open. Like I said, these pre-orders are limited because I'm only going to do it probably for the next 15 days, especially if there's not too much activity. In which case, like I said, I'm going to introduce a countdown so that if there's any last minute opportunities, they have a window. And then I will lock in, must be the T. So I will lock in any orders so that I have a solid number to bring the print. And right now, if you want to order today, I think in this moment, while we still have this moment here, we got 100 seconds to go of the Kickstarter. I think I have for a few hours, you can take an automatic 10% off the pre-order price. Now, if you pledged, there's a discount code and an update on the Kickstarter that you can access if you want it. And the first 10 people who use it, it's all for you. So you can tune in and you can have that lower price pledge. It's my gift to you because I want to make sure that, like, if it can be made, I'd like to have the opportunity, even if I pay for that little gap that price difference is, because I just want to make sure that if I can produce enough, it will make me feel like I was able to deliver the best I can until a better opportunity comes along. So if it's of your interest, I invite you, and you may, if you'd like, to explore my shop at shop.erictc.com. You can find a link below, but it's shop.erictecce.com. Now that's my name, so don't worry about it. Either way, it's the one I was given, and you can use that however you want to access my website or check out my shop. And you can see more information about Astro Herbal, where you can find, if this is your first time tuning in, I got galleries that you can look through the videos, so you can see each and every card as you want. You can see the video of how I time-lapse illustrated each and every card, so you can see all the artwork being made. You can see the trailers I created to show you just looking through the cards, so you can see for yourself all that's included, as well as taking trailers I did for still lifes that I all did in the last month. So it's been busy, and I know I need to take a break and I guess like rejuvenate soon, but I mean, this is the year that there's probably so much going on that we are what we are. So this is what I've created and I love it. And if you want to welcome this creation, I am very appreciative. You know what I mean. So thank you very much for tuning in. And as we go to this last final countdown, we are 0 seconds to go, and the Kickstarter is officially over. Let's see if I give a little refresh to see if there's any activity since then, just because, you know, you're here with me now. So yes, funding was unsuccessful. Everything's good. Not too much activity going on. We had 3 backers today, but I don't think they had any idea what was going on, or the fact that there was updates, or even reaching out to them to let them know what was going on. Didn't seem to do anything. It's strange. Kickstarter is a strange platform because I've ran into a lot of people either who don't use it, don't receive the notifications or messages, or at the same time too may just even be bought by Kickstarter's marketing campaign. But regardless, it's not me to decide, nor can I actually ever know. So for me, I'm only going to just be the best I can be, as I always can be, and I guess I share that advice for anyone else. Just be the best you can be, because at the same time too, as long as we are the best we can be, we're going to provide for others a better experience. And to do so, we're not doing it for them, we're doing it because that the enrichment of a collective movement is the enrichment of a community, and the enrichment of a community is the enrichment of the individual. So when we want to expand and offer not only knowledge but insight and the ability to support each other in many ways, whether it's communicating or whether it's emotional or supportive, whether it's the means of right position, timing, situations, connections, you may even have somebody in your life who just happens to show up that just happens to know somebody else that can open up a doorway that you might not even consider. We're always constantly discovering potential. So if the potential of this deck welcomed along your journey is something that you wish, then I'm all for that. You have the opportunity, and like I said, it's like 15 days, at most probably like 30. If like it's really active and picks up, I'm gonna see and take a different approach. I was not on it, social media, but I'm gonna see if I can either utilize my ability to express clearly, whether it's overexpressing, but either way, I'm utilizing the nature of my being to see maybe if I can connect with the right individuals who tune into my message that might be able to recognize the value of what they're perceiving, if not have an experience that might intrigue them enough to explore more so that they might discover. Now, I'm not able to condense who I am, what I am, or what I've done so easily, and I don't think I ever could, and I think that's the case for anything really. But if you are drawn to any particular aspect, you are free to explore, as I try to offer not only how I make my art, but the various mediums and artworks I have done. So if that's of interest to you, like I said, website, probably linked below in the description so you can tune into that. I'm also, like I said, this morning was able to chat with Matt Presti. Wonderful conversation, great connection, great energy, and I just love the fact that I was able to deep dive, because it's so hard to find a good person to deep dive into. And at the same time too, when you're talking to a camera, it's one thing that you can go in one direction, it's one thing to make a point, but in that natural conversation, it feels like you're dancing, but it's dancing to no music is, yeah, it's doable, but when you have music to go along with it, it's a rhythm, and then when you have others to rhythm with you, then at the same time too, you're creating something new. It's an energy, it's a vibe, it's the way in which we all come together. It's that vibe tribe. So either way, let's pull just one more card because we're going to wrap up the stream. Got a couple things to take care of today. I mean, it's always going to be busy. One of these days I'll relax. So we're looking at 𝒟𝒏𝒻𝒻. 𝒟𝒏𝒻𝒻 here is actually really special because 𝒟𝒏𝒻𝒻 is actually known for being able to heal all 7 of your tissues. It's interesting. It's Jupiterian, expansive. So we're here to grow. It actually covers a lot. It's expansive because I'm very familiar with this, and because of that, you got expensive Leo. So you're here with a Jupiter Leo, which is drops Jupiter, making sure that you yourself are on stage, being able to take a look at, see, like, it's time to expand, it's time to take care of it, it's time to go beyond. Because as above, so below, beyond and within, we're here experiencing a journey that we are no longer able to take back, but be present for. And we want to honor the presence that we're always able to give by making each and every present the best we can. So the guidance for this card in particular, let's see if I can actually like zoom in here, because I think it's important that you're able to see the art sometimes. So this is 𝒟𝒏𝒻𝒻. It's more like a berry, but it has like a lot of different stems. You can actually use a lot of the parts of the plants, a lot of constituents, and the way that this plant actually works is that it's able to provide so much in so little. And because of that, it's the guidance of divine rejuvenation. Because when you have divine rejuvenation, it's the ability to bring yourself back, the ability to bring back not only what you are, who you are, to restore the best of your being, but to do so in a way where it's kind of synchronicity. It's like divine, it's like divination. The concept of an oracle card in general is the meta essence of why we're looking at this as a possibility to begin with. It's the ability that we are able to have rejuvenation by all that which comes into being in our experience, I should say. So we're looking at 𝒟𝒏𝒻𝒻, which is also a fire sign. So this is like, I can't deny, I love 𝒟𝒏𝒻𝒻. At first when I read it, even though it's an Ayurvedic vibe, it gave me an Italian name in terms of reading it, so I can't help but say 𝒟𝒏𝒻𝒻. You know, it's just like, that's how I roll. So when you're looking at 𝒟𝒏𝒻𝒻, it has this like very Jupiterian, and I love the fact that it's also a Leo and a fire sign, because these elements I connect to personally, and it just makes so much sense now that I'm looking at my own creation and recognizing that I see myself in my creation, and I honor myself in the creation of why I was even drawn to this plant in the first place. It's just, that's how universe works. So we want to make sure that we are given the opportunity to explore, because this plant, oh man, I was just drawn to it, and it was just great. And it's one of the earlier plants I learned to appreciate more, because it was able to offer so much. And at the same time too, it did so in a way where it was so beneficial. I actually had 𝒟𝒏𝒻𝒻 earlier today, so it's all great. It works out really well. So today's message, divine rejuvenation. So let that be. Divine will come in, take care of the things, and before you know it, you're going to be ready for that whole new journey. So allow it all to come into place, because everything happens for a reason. Even if we're having these stepping stones to arrive where we are now, even if those goals may not always be achieved, we ourselves are part of creation, creating always. And in doing so, when we are creating in the process, what we create may be only an instance for the creation that we are a part of as our own nature. So with that said, and with that the process, I allow you to be. So thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Like I said, you can tune into my website below. You can find the videos, you can find all information about the deck, you can find my shop as well, and you can explore additional things, whether it's this channel or by chance you're tuning in because you're here by chance. Either way, you're welcome to explore as you wish. I'm not going to ask you anything more than to be yourself. And that's all I could ever ask, because honestly, that's the best thing you can do for anything, especially yourself. So, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being. And as always, stay true. Take care, and thank you. Enjoy. Oh, yes. Okay, actually, no. Okay, that's it. Okay, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm going to switch over to this little graphic while I take a second to hit the save button, because I want to make sure that if I'm delivering this to YouTube, that it's going to process. So work with me today, and I appreciate you taking a moment to see a little live snippet of what it's like to be here. So thank you. In your present moment of hearing this in your experience. So take that as a little personalization for you. Okay, for real though, I gotta take care of a couple things, and I appreciate you tuning in, so thank you. And again, be you, and stay true. Alright, thank you very much. And bye-bye!